Good evening and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story, America's nuclear launch codes. It's been the highlight of Hollywood thrillers over the years. In reality, only one person has control of the nuclear button, the US president. But a couple of House Democrats are trying to change this norm. They've written a letter to President Biden. In the letter, the congressmen say vesting a single person with so much power is dangerous. So they have a new proposal to share the nuclear codes with other office bearers. Now, the letter has 4 specific suggestions. 1, to share the powers with the Vice President and House Speaker. 2, with the Secretary of Defense. And 3, make congressional ratification compulsory for nuclear strikes. And 4, hold consultations with a permanent caucus of congressmen. So why exactly is America having this conversation now? The straight answer is Donald Trump. Trump's erratic behavior revealed the need for checks. He once openly threatened to nuke North Korea, saying his nuclear button was a lot bigger than Kim Jong-un's. As things stand, only one person on the planet can unlock America's nuclear arsenal, and that's Joe Biden. Now, it's the same for most countries. In the United Kingdom, only the Prime Minister can order a nuclear strike. In India, the nuclear codes are handed over to the Prime Minister after they're sworn in. And they are also given a presentation on the location of the nuclear warheads and their strength. In Russia, the power of ordering a nuclear strike lies with its president. It's the same with France. In North Korea, the nuclear codes are with Kim Jong-un. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by our correspondent, Susan Tehrani from New York. Good evening to you, Susan. What is this new proposal coming from President Biden's party lawmakers, and why has this been necessitated?
Yeah, definitely something that came out of left field, considering everything that's on the table right now for Congress to deal with, from Biden's new appointees to the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. But somehow we're talking about stripping the president of one of his fundamental rights, one being national security, not that one, but the other one, which is protecting America's nuclear arsenal. And it's interesting to note that the people that are calling for this are fellow Democrats. They're old school Democrats, many of them from the Obama administration. Leading this call is Jimmy Panetta. He is sitting at Congress's Armed House Committee. He's a member of that committee, takes national security and international security very seriously. He's the son of Leon Panetta, the former U.S. Defense Secretary, and they came out with this request. And while there have been theories on why this is happening, some say it's because of Donald Trump. But despite Democrats' distrust of Donald Trump, this was not a letter ever sent to Donald Trump, which could have easily been. And this raises the question on whether or not the Democrats know something about President Joe Biden's decision-making abilities in world affairs and how concerning that is for the American public. And it's hard for President Joe Biden not to take this personally, albeit many may argue once again that it was Donald Trump that sort of put the United States in this hyped-up situation, and the trauma of the past administration has led to perhaps a more focused look on who controls the nuclear codes. But it's interesting to see. I also want to talk about the timing a little bit. This comes right after President Joe Biden made his very first decision to conduct military strikes against Syria. We learned about that from the Pentagon on Thursday. This decision came shortly after that. Does this have anything to do with that? Were decision-making processes for that maybe a bit more complicated and had more angst than we know? We don't know really anything what happened behind closed doors regarding that. So these are some of the questions that we have to be asking right now. But most importantly, I think having this request at a time when the United States is facing so many other challenges is a question, is a concern.
Right, Susan, do you think it's is it a tangible demand for change, both why and why not? And interestingly, there are Republicans opposing this demand, which essentially would be the devolution of presidential power, as you touched on.
Well, first of all, it's unconstitutional. It's Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, and there's no dilemma regarding this, like impeaching a former president twice, like we saw, where scholars arguing. This is black and white. Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution gives the president the power to make decisions regarding war and peace, and he is the commander-in-chief. He leads the U.S. Armed Forces. The reason the Republicans are opposing this is because they are concerned that it will set a precedent for when their candidate is in office, and also many say that it's unconstitutional. I mean, it's interesting that the United States has a War Powers Act, which was passed around 1973 when former President Nixon was in power, and that was basically to prevent another Vietnam-style war, America's forever wars that we're talking about right now as well. And that required the president to, within 48 hours of committing the U.S. military abroad, to get Congress's approval. What's interesting about that is when national security and international security issues are concerned regarding here in the United States, presidents don't really abide by the President's War Powers Act or the War Powers Resolution. And the latest being Barack Obama in 2011, if you remember, he went independently to Libya without congressional support. So that's just the latest example. So, in theory, there might be reasons why the Democrats want to do this, but practically it will be very difficult to really make that change and take this away from a president. And I think the Republicans think that, well, there should be checks and balances in Congress. Something that's unconstitutional shouldn't be looked at. But one final note, the fact that this is being even brought up to the table is very telling of the concerns, perhaps, that the United States has on how it wants to deal with national and international threats.
Susan, great to talk to you. Thanks for bringing us all the latest there. We are now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.